All right, it's 7 o'clock. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Roll call.
Commissioner Wade,
Present.
Commissioner White,
Present.
Commissioner Lesniak,
Here.
Commissioner Harrington,
Here.
Chairperson Kroc.
Here.
Just to note, all commissioners are present.
Okay, orders of the day.
No changes.
No changes. Okay. Public comment, if there's anyone who wishes to speak about anything that is not on the agenda tonight, you can come up and do that now. Okay. No public comment. Approval of the minutes of the January 10th meeting.
I have one spelling iteration. The project architect for 15005 Carl Avenue is Bess Worsema, not Worsman,
Oh, W-I-E-R.
E-S-E-M-A.
E-S-E-M-A. Thank you for correcting that.
Anything else? Do I have a motion to?
I move we approve the minutes.
I second it.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. First order of business, 18216 Daves Avenue. The applicant requests approval of a site development permit to allow for the demolition of an existing two-story home and construction of a new approximately 6,450 square foot single-story home with an attached three-car garage and pool. The request includes the removal of up to 40 trees from the property. Jeannie, would you like to tell us about it?
Thank you. As you just stated, this is a request for a site development permit to demolish the existing two-story residential structure and allow for the construction of an approximately 640 square foot single-story home. They will be also including as part of that a three-car garage, filling in the existing pool and putting in a new pool. As part of this application, there's also a request to remove up to 40 trees. The predominance of those trees are eucalyptus, orchard trees, and non-natives. I think there's only one oak if there is. But again, I think that's like the arborist report was included, I believe, with the packet materials. The applicants provided a materials board to show you more specifically the materials they're using. And they're meeting all the setbacks. They are also requesting to allow for a fence for a portion of the lot, which is, this has two frontages on Dave's at a corner. So one of them is a side corner, the eastern side of the lot, I believe. And for a portion of that, they are requesting to have a fence up to 6 feet in height, where otherwise it would require to be three in the front and three in the side corner, which is on a R144, I believe, is 25 feet. But also in the plans, they've shown the location of that, so it is set back a distance from the edge of pavement as well as the property line. So with that, I'm able to answer any questions.
Questions?
Do you recall the number of trees proposed to be planted? I thought it was 30-something.
It's a significant amount, and if you look on sheet, let's see where it is.
I find it in the arborist report.
If you look on sheet L 1.0, up at the top, it includes the number and the size. So they're looking to do 21,
I think 47 is
30,
the count in the grid.
about 45.
Okay.
So So 6 are going to be maples in a 36-inch box, which is a significant size. Typically, it's a 24-inch that we might require. But again, some of what they're removing as part of the 40 trees are, I guess you call them trees, but it's more the bush-like eucalyptus along Dave's and some small dimensioned orchard trees. But with the exception of 10 fruit trees, 15-gallon, the remainder of the trees that they're proposing to plant, 29 of them are 24-inch box, 6 of them are 36-inch box, and the trees that they're looking to plant include 11 coast live oak, and then they've got some probably more accent-type trees for the type of design that they're doing on site, which is some queen palms around the pool area, and then some olives along Dave's Avenue. And then the fruit trees are going to go kind of back in the area where a lot of them are being taken out.
Any other questions?
Question.
Oh,
I-
is it?
She will,
Is it
once
time?
we get through questions for staff, she'll then open the public hearing
Okay, fine.
and ask the applicant to come up, and then if there's anybody other wishing to speak, you'll be directed up at that time. Thank you.
Okay, would the applicant like to come speak about the project? Just give us your name and your affiliation.
Good evening, I'm Gary Colsett, architect for the McNelly Ricci residence. I'd like to just start with addressing the trees. It sounds like a large number, being 40 trees, and it is quite a large number. And as Jeannie mentioned, the majority of the trees they're eucalyptus trees. There's actually 14 of those along the front and the side that were actually in the right of way, not even on our property, but we're requesting to take those out and replant as mitigation. There's 14 Monterey pines, and several of them are in bad condition, and that's all outlined in the arborist report. And we're not taking out any oaks, I believe. And we have one palm and one magnolia and 2 eucalyptus. There is one large eucalyptus on the property up in the northeast corner that looks healthy, but our arborist pointed out that it's very sick and it could fall down at any minute. It's deceiving, but you could he spotted it right away. And so that's coming out as well. So designing the home, we were assuming that we could take out most of the trees, but we weren't sure about the eucalyptus until we got the arborist. And that kind of opened up a few things for us. We looked at a 2-story design as well as a 1-story, and we kind of landed on the 1-story because we were able to wrap the house around the corner and provide such a great privacy screening for the backyard. And it's really about the backyard as much as it is the front yard for the owners and their perspective. Obviously, from the city's perspective, it's more about what it looks like from the street. So we tried to make it an attractive home from there as well. But I think the 1-story kind of plays into Monte Sereno's history of more ranch-style, spread-out kind of homes. It's in the Spanish style, kind of an eclectic style, and with the quality roof materials, quality windows, and it has the landscaping that goes with that, with the olive trees and the natives. So we tried to put this whole package together. The access for the garage is in the exact same driveway location. We worked with staff and engineering about how close we could come to the corner. We recognize it is a busy corner, and there are some visibility issues that we're going to mitigate with removing all those hedges and things and replanting for more visibility around the corner. But hopefully the house is attractive enough to maybe slow a few people down. The speed's very slow going around that turn.
You'd
Yeah.
think, but
Depends upon who's driving.
you may go slow, but not everybody.
Yeah.
So,
And then I'll also like to address our request for the exception to the height of the fence. It's approximately 80 feet long, and it's located in the far back corner of our property. It doesn't come close to obstructing any visibility, which is one thing. And if you really look at the property, right now there's a hedge in the right-of-way that is, very, it's opaque, right? You can't really see through that hedge. That hedge comes down, the wall goes up, which is 21 feet from the road. It's 11 feet from the property line. So I think it has significant setbacks. It will be re-landscaped. And it just, when someone's driving west on Dave's Avenue and the headlights shine into the yard and stuff, this will kind of protect that a little bit and provide a little more noise suppression for the backyard. So we hope that you find this as a reasonable request. And other than that, we've Mike McNally, the owner, had spoken to the majority of the neighbors and tried to do some outreach on that, and came back with mostly positive comments. The standard comments about not wanting to have noise in construction. We all understand that, but that's one of the facts of life. The great thing about this property is there's so much staging room that we can have trucks, equipment, everything off the street all the time. So I think that's a benefit of the layout of the property and what we've done. So
Thank you.
I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Questions?
I had a question on the side of the property that has the front door and there's a walkway going down.
What page are you on?
I'm on page L10. If there are visitors coming to visit the home, they're going to have to park on Dave's Avenue, I guess. Would visitors park in the parking of the home, or will they be parking on the street?
They will park on the street. We've created a parking area for 3 to 4 cars off of the street into the right of way.
Parallel parking.
Parallel parking, yes.
A little turnout here, right here, goes like this.
Where all those blue gums are being.
Yeah.
made.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Well, it comes in and.
Yeah.
Thank you, that answers my question.
Anybody else?
Question on the stucco wall on property. Looks like the majority of it's only 3 feet tall. It's just the maybe 4 panels that are 6 feet tall?
That's correct, yes. Yes. And we're trying to kind of create a layering effect from the street. It's very reminiscent of Spanish-style homes to have walls. We had started out creating like an auto court compound with the tall walls, but then looking at the codes and working with planning and engineering, it was kind of like, no, that's not going to work. And so we dropped those down to 3, and they're conforming. But then it picks up, yeah, you're right, it picks up to 6.
Most part.
Behind, I guess it would screen that solar array area also.
It does,
Yeah.
that's right.
And it provides some benefit from headlights of cars coming up through these. Yeah.
Anyone else? Questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We can open it up to public comment or public comments, questions. Anyone have anything to say? Okay, just come on up and give your name and your address. Thank you.
I'm Bill Linder. My wife Barbara is back there. We live just across the street from this new project. Nobody has come up to ask us any questions about the project, so I'm not sure what you're referring to there. On my list of several things I wanted to discuss, we just talked about parking. That is probably one of the most dangerous corners in Monte Sereno. Cars coming down there in both directions going around that 90-degree turn, and then there are 2 90-degree turns right there at the Dog's Leg. I think parking on the street would be extremely dangerous for visitors coming there. That aside, do we have a time frame for when this house would be built? It's a big project. a tear down, a build up, a pool, a landscaping, I think that's going to probably take more than a year. Do we have any time limits on doing a project like this for the city?
This is not actually a
What-
question answer.
Yeah,
but
Oh, well.
we can, perhaps the
We can
applicant
address-
might be able to answer that
Okay,
once
then
you.
these are questions more for the architect, I would presume, or the builder. Other than the trees coming down, there are a lot of dead trees in the property, and I'm sure that you're going to take care of that. That's been a concern of mine for probably about 6 months or so. I have really no other comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay.
You
Do
can
we bring him back up to, okay,
answer any.
to answer the architect would you come up to answer any, or to answer his
And
question?
staff will respond in one instance that should this request be approved, they then would need to get under construction within a year, have a building permit issued within a year. So, and if that doesn't happen, then they would have to come back. As far as how long it might take, I think that might be more in the area of the architect.
Well, the plan is to keep moving along on our drawings to get building permits. We should have building permits in 3 to 4 months, and start in summertime. And this is about a 14-month project, so it should be done by the fall of 2019. We'll meet all the construction guidelines, and many times we'll have a pre-construction meeting at the site to address any potential traffic problems, parking, those kind of things, right? And so that's something that we often do. And so just to assure everybody that this will be built in a very respectable manner.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, do we want to go through the guidelines?
You have to close the public hearing.
Oh, okay, the public hearing is closed on this matter. Bringing it back to the commission, and we'll go through the site development permit required findings. Number 1, whether the proposed improvement and/or use is compatible with the character of the surrounding neighborhood in which it would be located.
I feel that it is.
I do too.
Okay. 2, whether the orientation and location of the buildings take into consideration the visual impact which could result from the proposed improvement and/or use.
I mean, based on what Gary said, I think they've taken everything into consideration in regards to this finding.
3, whether the proposed improvements, including architecture, are consistent with the city's design guidelines.
Yes.
I think so.
Yep.
4, if applicable, whether the proposed improvement and/or use will provide for minimum grading and retention of the natural contours of the land then existing in order to protect the natural slope of the lot. There's not
Significant
really,
grading.
yeah. If applicable, whether the proposed improvement and/or use provides for retention of significant trees as defined elsewhere in the code, unless the findings required by section 1015-080 of the code can be made, and preservation of solar access.
I was looking at the sketch L10, which is very good, very detailed, but I count more trees than I see in the chart. So there's some discrepancy. Apparently there's going to be some discretion as to where some of these trees are going to go. But there are more trees on the drawing than there are in the chart. So I'm happy if the chart's inaccurate. There's more trees than planted.
So when I looked at this application and you see that they want to remove 40 trees and significant, I always kind of cringe. But,
Right.
I mean, we all know that lot well if you've traveled Dave's, that there's a lot of trees that have been neglected and aren't appropriate for the lot to begin with. So I'm okay with, they have an extensive landscape plan to replace the trees, and I feel like they've addressed it.
Right.
So I'm okay with it.
I agree. I'm impressed with the number of trees that are.
Okay, if applicable, whether the landscaping for the proposed improvement and/or use emphasizes the use of native materials in the area.
I think we're good on that.
I think
one.
we're very good on that.
Okay. So
Okay.
do we want to make a finding?
Do we want to,
Oh, but, we need to make our,
Motion.
I propose that we approve the
Yeah.
application as submitted.
Second that.
okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, good luck with your
Okay.
project.
Okay, on to 17510 Via Sereno. The applicant requests approval of a site development permit to allow for the construction of a fence up to 6 feet in height within the side corner setback of the property along Winchester Boulevard. The proposed fence will vary in setback from 14 inches to 3.5 feet from the edge of the sidewalk. Jeannie?
Okay, yeah, so similar to some other
The one
fence,
adjacent, right?
fence height requests,
Across.
this property owner wishes to kind of relocate an existing fence that he's wanting to repair closer to the property line on Winchester, for very much the same reasons as other property owners who've come before you in the past 6 to 9 months. Winchester is a heavily traveled thoroughfare, both vehicular and pedestrians. Their property owners whose properties abut Winchester have to endure a lot of impacts from that activity, noise, but also pedestrians will tend to, toss their trash and stuff like that. And it's also a way for these property owners to, I think, gain back some of the property that they will respectfully use, as opposed to leave it out for the public, who has shown that they can't really respect that property. So as much as the property owner has been able to do, he's proposed to vary the setback to accept different forms of landscaping to help buffer or soften the impact of that fencing along there. And I think as time goes on and we see how that landscaping with the other fences along the side property lines on Winchester, probably feel a lot more comfortable with how this is. Because again, part of this will be the maintenance of that landscaping too. So if it ever, does fall in disrepair or, lack of maintenance, the city can always call it in, because it's part of this approval. So just like all the other previous approvals, that landscaping is part of this approval. So therefore, there's a responsibility on the property owners to continue to maintain it. It'll also help in deterring any sort of vandalism or graffiti for these sort of fences, which, so when there's landscaping there, you're not going to see as much of that. With that, I'm here to answer any questions, and property owners, the applicant, are also in the audience.
Okay, would the property owner like to come up and address?
Sure. I'm Don Pakulik. I'm the property owner. And so what we're trying to accomplish is there were 3 large pines that were taken out last year because they were diseased. Previously, the fence had been outboard of the trees towards the street, and as the trees grew, the fence was moved to its current location. So I'm trying to move it back closer to the street, closer to where it was originally. What I'm trying to accomplish with this is something which is visually acceptable. Excuse me. The retaining wall would be horizontal boards, and then I'd have a landscape area. I'm looking to plant boxwood plants, which are typically grown upwards and not out. So they're also very well in terms of pruning and shearing, so they could be kept to the size of the planted area. And then vertical redwood slats behind it. So you have horizontal, the greenery of the landscaping, and then vertical fence posts. I have arranged it such that we basically would be insets and the insets go up to about 3.5 feet deep from the sidewalk. And I would plant in those areas something more interesting in terms of maybe some Camellia japonicas, things like that, which are flowering, evergreen, would provide a nice visual for the area. In terms of the general area, I mean, as Jeannie said, Winchester is very, very busy. The other side of the street is largely commercial, and there's a 2-story office building that's likely to go in across the street. I'm right at the end of Sherburne, and Sherburne angles up. And so at night when people drive up Sherburne, and particularly when they turn right, the headlights shine right into my Eichler, which is largely glass. And so I'd like to put the fence out and have the fence. I'm maintaining it at the 6-foot level, but I'd like to go ahead and block, the visuals from the office buildings and the light intrusion, and I can't do anything about the noise. I would have preferred something that would be a noise barrier, but I can't do that. So this is what I'm hoping to accomplish. I'm hoping it's acceptable, it's reasonable.
Thank you. Does anyone have questions for?
I've looked at the existing fence that's already up and looks very nice.
Okay, thank you. The neighbors have generally commented that they like it, that it looks nice.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone wishing to speak to this project?
Hi, I'm Brian Mekachuk. I live at 17509 Via Sereno. I'm a neighbor from across the street. One of the things that you may have read in the application is there's a 35-foot tall building that has been approved across Winchester. And I really feel for my neighbor because that's an immense building, and the privacy, they're going to lose their privacy. Now, certain people think there's no right to privacy. I happen to disagree with that. I think there's a certain amount of privacy that you have. So I fully support the application. I think that the design is well done, and being able to not be a monolithic wall but have some detail to it is great. It is amazing how people just discard their trash after they come from the 7-Eleven. It's amazing. The other thing is that I believe that the fence ordinance in Monte Sereno needs to be changed. It's dramatically out of date. It doesn't reflect the current situation where we are today in Monte Sereno. And the town of Los Gatos has proposed a new fence ordinance that's like 6 feet tall with 1 foot of lattice on the top that is basically, there's no application for it. It's just given. Currently, there's a 6-foot height limit with a 2-foot up to 8 feet over-the-counter approval by the Director of Community Planning.
Okay, can I just stop
Yeah.
you right there? Because this is not,
Okay.
we're not here to talk about the Monte Sereno ordinances. We're just talking about this specific project. And I'm sure if you go into the office or call someone, you can start that process. But this is just not the forum for that.
Understood. My point is I support it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Discussion.
Close the public hearing.
Pardon? Oh, sorry. Public hearing is now closed. This is my first night being the head honcho, so I'm getting a little coaching. Any discussion?
This jog area, what is that? Is that this part here? That part's not built.
Right, that's
That's,
in the plan, but that's not.
Same construction. Wondering, were you able to discern? Or
yeah, I assumed it was.
it's all the same?
Yeah.
It all has the space, because we have a 30-inch retaining wall with so it's an 8.5-foot tall fence.
Yeah.
There's about 2 feet between.
No, 7 inches.
Yeah, unfortunately, along Winchester, again, these are the types of situations that a lot of cities struggle with because there is the need to retain along Winchester, just
Right.
because those houses pad up. So if you held, quite honestly, if you held them 6 feet, they basically have a 3.5 to 4 foot fence.
No, I understand
So,
the need for the retaining wall, for sure.
Which is why we've encouraged all of those that have come before you to set it back as much as practical.
Yeah.
So the one at Dave's in Winchester is anywhere from 4 to 5 feet at places, and you can now see that they've cleaned up the landscaping and they put a bark or a rock down and really,
Like on the corner.
yeah.
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 So,
I guess I'm wondering if the.
and Mr.
7
Mekachek's going to have, his fence has jogs. It'll come out to protect the redwoods and then jog back so that you can have, interesting opportunities to plant different landscaping.
Yeah, I like the idea of setting the fence back a little bit from the retaining wall, up the total height. I'm just wondering if 7 inches is enough to grow anything and then really get that landscaping buffer that we're trying to get here.
I think the practical reality is, for those areas, it's going to be some sort of vine type,
Yeah.
so that the other areas is where you're going to get the ability to do some sort of gallon type planting.
I have a little bit of concern with the quality of it too. I mean, already starting to sag, it's out of alignment. All out. I'm worried it's not gonna look very good in a couple of years. Is my premise on this thing. Typically, for a 2x retaining board, you need to post it 4 feet on center. Just the structural engineer in me
Yeah.
voicing his opinion on that.
So what would you change?
I like the look of it. I'm just worried, judging from what's there
Yeah.
now, it's already crooked, it's swaying.
Yeah.
In a couple more years, it's gonna be worse. Unless the design is beefed up a little bit to keep it a big, long expanse, and it's very visible. And I'm worried that, wood fences, after a couple of years, they tend to not look good. So I would,
So would you want to do a,
and maybe that's outside of the purview of this. I am concerned that it continue, if what is built matches exactly what's there, I think it's going to look a little ragged after a few years.
so would you want to put a condition on it, or?
Yeah, can we do that? I mean,
I don't see why not.
no.
I mean, if the fence type and construction that they're proposing doesn't meet, a certain standard in your mind, you can propose, I think, reasonable conditions
Okay,
that would remedy that concern.
okay.
And if you've got a certain expertise in that, I think to the extent that you can articulate that when making the condition, that clearly helps.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of have 3 points that I think would enhance this, keep it looking pretty much the same, but enhance it to increase its longevity and appearance for the long term.
So Steve, did you see point B, read this B here, that it's saying that he's moving, it says right here, I'll attempt to move existing fence and supports to up to an additional 7 inches towards my house, giving 14.5 inches of landscaping space. So it's a little better.
It's all welded structural steel.
Yeah,
We're
I
gonna cut it
don't
all
get
apart
how
and rebuild it?
that's, yeah, that's what I want to bring up,
I don't see that as being
possible.
possible.
Okay.
I mean, I'm okay, with the 7, you're not gonna get much of a bush or
No.
any planting in 7 inches. You might get a vine to grow on the fence, and that might be nice. And then as it starts to articulate further down, well, then there's more opportunity for some landscaping to happen in front of the fence. Assuming that's all same style, I think that would be nice. And I think top cap of the fence needs to be increased to keep it in better alignment. I think the support of the fence needs to be more than a 2x4 turn flat to prevent sagging. And I think retaining boards need to be supported at 4 feet on center to keep them from buckling out.
Yeah.
I think if you could just kind of beef it up a little bit, I think it's
Then
going to
we'd
look
be
better in the
okay.
long term.
I had a question for Jeannie. Where does this fence sit within the property line? Do we know?
Yeah, I didn't see a property line on this map, so I don't know where.
I think his,
Well, it's just the
the
sidewalk.
applicant can probably come up, but my understanding
Is the edge of the
is
sidewalk?
that yes, because you have Winchester Boulevard and then a park strip, and then you have along that area, you've got a cement sidewalk, and then you've got the property line. So,
I mean, wouldn't that be handled in the permitting process? I mean, obviously, you got to make sure it's on the property, right?
he doesn't need to get a permit for this.
Oh,
He doesn't get a building permit for
Yeah,
a
it's just a
six-foot
fence.
okay.
So,
He just has to get permission to have a fence that doesn't comply.
yes. So assuming they know where their property lines are if they haven't surveyed it. And those properties along Winchester
Or funky, right?
are pretty,
They're all pretty much right up to the
Standard, yeah.
sidewalk. It's kind of
Yeah.
consistent along there.
Okay.
if anything, there's a 6-inch
So your
separation.
request is that,
I don't have any issues with the overall plan and the way it's going to look. I just worry about how it's going to look in 5 years. You know, just because of what I saw out
Okay.
there in terms of how it was being built.
okay, so do you want to put conditions on it?
Yeah, I
Or-
have 3 suggestions that I would recommend.
Can we do recommendations?
Applicant back, because he's been raising his hand.
Can Don come up again?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm sure he may address that.
Thank you. So yes, I do want to move it back. I'm going to attempt to move it back. It is a difficult process. I have to cut the structural steel. I have a tractor with a 30,000-pound ram that I'm going to attempt to push it back. So I will separate the retaining wall and then move that out and then push the support for the fence back so I can accomplish up to 14.5 inches for planting. A lot of work, but that's what I'm going to try to do. I agree with you on the 4 foot on center for the retaining wall. That was my plan. This was just temporary. It's not, that section is not complete
Okay.
as far as the retaining wall is, you know, as far as the retaining wall. Yeah, and the property line is the sidewalk
Yeah.
along the way there.
Thank you.
Anything else?
That helped a lot. No, that helped a lot, though.
Okay.
How about you had talked about the top cap?
Yeah.
So yeah, the soil hasn't been
Right.
and so right now the fence is sagging because there's no support in terms of soil. It's not sitting on anything, it's just hanging in the air.
Yeah, typically under the fence bottom rail, you'll do a
I can-
kickboard. Like
I can put a
two-bay turn
kickboard in there,
strongway,
sure.
And that will keep it from sagging.
Yeah.
If you could add something like that,
I can,
I think that would help a lot.
yeah, I can, definitely. Yeah,
Thank you.
okay, thanks.
Any other discussion about this? Shall we bring it to a vote? So as I understand it, we are going to move to approve the application with the 2 conditions, and I am not the structural engineer, so maybe you can.
I was going to say, Steve can make this.
Yeah, I don't know if I can be specific, or do we need to be?
Yeah, I would appreciate specificity because it
Okay.
helps me when I
Okay.
draft
So
up the.
I think the retaining portion should be supported with posts at 4 feet to prevent that buckling that's going to happen once the soil gets backfilled. And I also think something should be done to strengthen the fence to keep it from sagging down the way it's currently starting to do.
Okay.
How about that? And so that top cap issue is related to the sagging. So if he does.
Top
to
cap,
extend-
it acts more to kind of keep it in alignment, because if
Okay.
you look down it,
Yeah,
it's
I know.
kind of, so,
Okay,
I mean, I think that would be, usually there's a continuous top cap on
Mhm.
top of the fence, and I think that.
So we're going to put that on the
Sure.
conditions.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Maybe,
That's it.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's, so I
Yeah.
second it,
Yeah.
and then we're good to go.
Okay, okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you, Don.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Good luck.
Okay, moving on to the last item of the evening. 15171 Carl Avenue. The applicant requests approval of a site development permit to demolish an existing single-story home and construct a new approximately 6,000 square foot two-story home with a new 800 square foot attached accessory dwelling unit and a new pool. The proposal also includes the removal of 2 significant trees, both approximately 37 inches in circumference. This application was continued from December 6, 2017 meeting with direction to the applicant to modify the design to reduce the number of columns in the front of the home and to include screening landscaping on the sides of the lot. Jeannie.
Okay, so as you stated, this first came before the commission on December 6th. At that time, there was direction to the applicant to address some issues related to the design, such as the number of columns, as well as screening landscaping along the front and sides. Since that time, we've received a number of correspondence from some neighbors along Carl who indicated they were concerned with the design and how it did not comport with the city's design guidelines. The city's design guidelines in some instances do suggest, looking at the massing vis-a-vis the adjacent structures. Sometimes that's much more relevant in cases where you have homes in close proximity to each other, maybe 8-foot side yards, so there's a 16-foot separation. That guideline may or may not be as relevant in other situations because it's really intended to address what you're seeing when you're moving along that street. So it's a streetscape type guideline when those homes are close to the street and, their adjacency is much closer. My sense along Carl Avenue is these are large lots. The homes may tend to be separated anywhere from 40 to 60 feet. Single-story setbacks for these size lots are 20 feet, and I think the 2 stories 40 feet. So you could go anywhere from 40 to 50 to 60 feet separation. So as you're driving along, you may not have that, what I call that, sense of homes along the street. The other reason why the guideline that a lot of the correspondents raised may, in my sense, not be as pertinent is given the setbacks that you have along Carl, especially of some of the newer ones. This is a very deep lot. The structure is proposed to be set back anywhere from 60 to 70 to 80 feet in different places. So, I can understand people looking at that guideline and thinking how this may or may not fit that. From my professional opinion, that guideline is not as relevant to this case, given the size of the lots, given the setbacks of existing structures, and given the proposed setbacks of the proposed home. As to some of the concerns related to the design of the home, it is a very different design. I think one of the keys in this sort of design coming into a neighborhood which already has a variety of different designs. Probably originally there were a lot of single-story ranches that over time some have had a second story put on it. Some have been demolished altogether and new homes built. You do have a couple French Tudor type. There's a French Tudor type. There's, if you drive all along Carl, you'll see a variety of different home types. And we even recognize this neighborhood in our general plan, calling it La Rinconada. It has a variety of different house designs. It's not just one design. As these homes turn over, you're going to have people either wanting to remodel the existing. In the case of this lot, the existing home, there's not much to work with. It predates the ranch homes that are out there, probably. I think we built in the 40s. There was a historic report. We did have them do a historic report to ensure that there was no historical or architectural integrity to the structure. I think, however, one of the reasons that the variety of designs along Carl Avenue do work is due to the quality of construction and the quality of the materials that have been used in those designs. So I think when you are going to be introducing a new type of architecture into a neighborhood, in order for it to truly be an asset to that neighborhood, it's really going to come in how that home the design is executed, not only through construction, but the use of the materials and whatnot. I think they did respond to the original requests from the commission vis-a-vis the change in number of columns, and at the last page of the plan set, I did include the elevations from the original submittal versus the modified, so you can see some of the design changes they did make, which was reduction in the columns, as well as the introduction of some dormers in the roof to, again, help to break up the mass of that. With that, I'm available for any questions, and I do know the applicant and his designer are in the audience.
Okay. Would you like to come speak to the project? The architect or the owner?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, the Plan Commissioner. My name is Mike Amini. I'm the owner of a company named Craftsman's Guild, which I do design and build in the Bay Area for about 42 years. I started 1976. I almost did design and build almost every city in the Bay Area. Any city you name it, I have done some either large remodeling and addition or also design and build new homes. I'm very familiar with almost all the codes and requirements of every city. With all the respect to the neighbors, I always make sure when I do the design, I respect the privacy from the sides, definitely privacy in the back, and I always make sure all the neighbors are happy, and I'm going to make sure this time we're going to achieve that again to make sure everybody is happy. Again, as Jenny mentioned, sometimes the criteria of the city could be very deceiving, especially in this case. If you allow me, I want to show you some points here. And again, with all the respect to what Jenny said, it is not very new in the neighborhood. We did a research in the neighborhood. There is 6 French, by the way, this design we do is a French chateau. There is 6 French chateaux in the neighborhood with the almost a minute and a half to 3 minutes. There is 3 of them, large French chateaus, are in the Carl Street, which much larger, much wider, and much taller than the one we have. So this is not the new one in the neighborhood. One of the concerns some of the neighbors they had was regarding if we are removing more than trees than we should. Basically, the only trees we are removing is one eucalyptus, which it is very close to the existing slab of the existing structure, which should have been removed long time ago. We could get the permit to remove it like a couple of years ago. But we decided not to wait when we decided to put the new one, request that one. The only one we really requiring to be removed is one pepper tree, almost half dead in the back. Now, Regarding the concerns they had, they said it does not meet the criteria, which I go through that in a minute. If we go to the next picture in here, that's what we see. This is the site we are going to work with. If you look at this map, there is these orange big dots. This one, this one, this one, they're all French chateaus. This one, there are French chateaus. And if you read the minutes to go each one of them from here to this tree, but if we kind of forget these three French chateaus, there is one large Mediterranean, which amazingly overwhelming, very close to the car. Each one of these guys are closer to the Carl Street than we are, because the requirement of the setback is only 30 feet. We are putting 50 feet on top of that. We are sitting 80 feet back. So basically, we are not visible from the street. Please go to the next. Okay. This is one of the French chateaux, is only a minute. Only a minute, minute and a half, 1 minute. I don't know how those neighbors, which they complained, this is the new, is not meeting the criteria. They never walked around to see this huge. Comparing our project to this, we are only this much. That's it. That's what we are. Now look at this going. Please show the next, and this is the side. Go back to the, no, okay, here. Look, this is from the side. Not only on the front it goes, it comes in the back and goes, and there is a guest unit in the back of it too, okay? Comparing to the bulk and large buildings, it is only 1 minute away from this home. And as you see, this is going all the way from here, there, and goes and back, and goes in the back, and with a huge guest unit right here. And it's very visible from the street. So one of the concerns neighbor had, your design is very visible from the street. So if this huge monster is visible, then why we cannot be visible from the street? Please go to the next one. Okay. Again, another chateau, French chateau. And if you see, it's 1 minute. 1 minute away from this one. This is the front, very visible from the street. Is much closer to the car than what we are. And again, it goes there all the way to here. Compared to ours is only this much. Now look, this goes from here to there. And then again, one of the concerns was this is a huge building comes to the lake. Please go to the next. Okay, this is another French chateau, which, what was the minute to walk? It's here. 3 minutes, am I right? 2 minutes. 1 minute. 1 minute, right. Because that's our site. You drive here, you see it there. Again, must not do. This one is done. But again, it's a huge one, very visible from the street, and it sits only like 30 feet. Remember, we are 80 feet from the curb. Please go to the next. Another French chateau. 2 minute drive. We are not the first one in the neighborhood. Okay? Then again, from this to the car, look, this fence, after that is almost 10, 15 feet. I don't know why they put, that's the vegetation we are going to put in ours, which it is English laurel. Right, again, see, it's a huge two-story from here to there. Compared to ours, we are only this much. And we are 2 times more than this one back in the street. Please go to the next one. Right. Okay, this English laurel is what we were planning to do in ours, which one of the neighbors mentioned this cannot be more than 3 feet. Again, this one is almost 9 feet tall, but by the way, since our property, the one we are working, has a real huge, dense greenery on the both sides, we don't even need to put any laurel. So we decided, get rid of the laurels on the side, keep exactly what it is on the side. In the front, since there is a driveway, goes from one side to the other side, we put trees where we remove that. We put some more trees where we remove it, because we are entering from the center. Please go to the next picture. Okay, that's another French design, French two-story. This is car. Look how close this is to the car. Since it is a corner lot, I don't know how they got away with this much close, and this is the the car, and it is two-story. Look how close this is to the, and in our case, we are almost this big, but we are like 80 feet, not 20 feet from the.
That's outside the city.
Yeah, but
That's a
this,
county.
this is end of the car, it's right here. See,
That's county pocket.
it's right here. This is our site. This is our site. See, from here to here is 2 minutes. 2 minutes to car, you hit this guy right there. Again, we are not the first one coming there. Please go and see, that's the structure of this house. Look how huge it is. Okay, then we are not that big. Please go to the next one. This is in the car. Look at that. The Carla Street is here. From this one to Carl, we are only like 25 feet. That's the old setbacks. But remember, we are 80 feet from a street curb. So basically, they hardly can see us. We are way inside. Please go to our floor, our project now. And again, you go to the car, you see this huge two-story with a circle drive. And one of the comments was, this kind of circle drive is not in the Monte Sereno. Yeah, there are almost, most of these, you guys, you come from the center, there is a circle, there is a house. Look how huge this one is. And from here to there, I guess it is about 40, 50, but we are about 80 again. And look how huge this structure in this narrow lot. Ours is almost almost combining these two lots, and we are in the center. We are from one right neighbor, we are about 80 feet away from that structure. From our left one, we are 110 feet. Not 10, 15 feet or 20 feet. See, this is like 20 plus 20. Now imagine, in ours, one side, we are 80 feet from one of the neighbors. The left side, we are 110. Okay? Then we are not really close to any of the neighbors on the side. We are not close to the street. We are pretty much, one of the reasons I put, and that's another one, you see, it's a huge, big piece of, it's a beautiful design, I love it, but it's a big piece of stone sitting next to the car and nobody complained. Now suddenly ours is a huge building, and that's 1 minute away from our house. So almost every home in the neighborhood you get, it's much larger than ours, much wider than us, and much taller than us. Now, this is the English lily we were planning to put here. But if I remove this, you see there is a real dense on both sides, which we decided, forget it. We're not going to put anything on the side because it's enough privacy between us and the neighbor. Only since the driveway used to come, go and get out of here, we are going to close it. We put some more trees here, some more trees here. There is just few vegetation. It's not trees. There are some heavy dense, which going to remove it. See, this is here. That's what we're going to remove. That's one of the neighbors said, they're touching this tree. We're not. This is an oak tree. It's going to stay. Only this vegetation is going to be gone. But we are replacing more trees in here and there, where we were going in and out, because we are kind of going from the middle. And as you see how dense this side, as how dense this side is, which we don't even need to add any, because in the first meeting we came, they requested, can we put some privacy vegetation on the side, and we accepted that. But after we went there inside, we found that we don't really need it. Look how dense it is. We just leave it the way it is. Now, that's the only tree we are requesting to be removed, pepper tree. Because as I said, that eucalyptus tree in the front, can you bring that next picture? I can see the eucalyptus tree. This is our design. Now, go back to that picture, please. To see the case study, this case study, go back to that case study, please. Okay, we showed this case study to the city and said, we kind of follow this look. 99% of French chateaus, they look alike. They're almost copy of each other. But one of the comments was, why you guys have shallow roof? God bless you guys. If you guys give me a higher roof line, I'd love to do it. But we are meeting the city. We are about 1.5 feet below city height requirement, which I guess when we do the construction drawing, I'm going to go back to that, use that 1.5 feet to get a little bit higher roof line. But one of the comment came, this is a huge piece of building they put there. No, ours is only this much of it. Remember, this side we are 110 to the neighbor, this side we are 80 feet to the neighbor. And in the front, again, one more time, we are 80 feet from the street curb. And I think this, and then again, one of the other things, if you see some other French, they have a really tall entry. What we did, we broke it with a little line here with a trim. Our entry is only 9 foot tall, and that's another balcony. There is an access to come to this balcony from the bedroom. So basically, this is not the whole entry. Our entry is shallow, versus one of the don't do was this big one, which most of them, they do have a really tall entry, which we don't. And as you see, we are meeting all the floor area ratio, lot coverage, height, setback, and in previous calculation, because we do this kind of, pavers, the water can seep through, and most of this area and the garage area is this, and in the back, mostly we stay with natural beauty of the backyard. We don't, after, when you go to the back, and again, you see our one story is a very shallow roof, and after that, like 30 feet or 20 feet, what was the Maria? No, right. This one is one, after the one story, we have 110, that side, after our one story in that side, we have 80 feet to the neighbor. So we are not really close to any of the neighbors on the side, on the front. And originally we had a lot more columns. They said reduce it, we did. We took almost half of them off. Then one of the comment was it was a huge roof. Then we added these 2 dormers to break the roof mass. So basically, I feel like this is going to be really a benefit to the neighbors. If this project comes there, it easily, again, I'm in the business of designing and building. I'm not just doing design. My brother Matt is a structural engineer. I'm the one doing all the architectural design. Then my wife is the interior designer. My sons both running projects we design and build. If this project comes to this neighborhood, I can easily tell each neighbor, immediate neighbors, value of their house goes on about $300,000 to $400,000 more, because this camp easily put $300,000, $400,000 to their plate. So I think they should be happy to see it's coming instead of going against them. And if anybody have any comment, again, this is our site plan. See, mostly the front is all greenery with the pavers. That tree is going to stay, which it is an oak, we don't touch it. Again, we put a little bit of shrubbery here and there to kind of give the privacy. This side, we don't really need to do anything. This back area is a beautiful natural vegetation, which all the trees, as you see, they're going to stay. And as what it looks in the back, we just leave it alone. This is going to be all big grass area, then the swimming pool and some little pavers. Including all of these and all of these, we are meeting all the impervious calculation. Right on it. That's the
Okay.
The color is kind of beige. It's not, I mean, this projector kind of showing more white. It's more like a beige color. It is not like, and by the way, one of the comments was that shouldn't the roof to be, shouldn't the roof to be a slate? Yes, our roof is slate too. It's a dark gray slate. I'm very proud of it. So
Great.
Thank you. If you have any questions, I would be more than happy to answer them.
Yes. Do you have a materials board? Did we get a materials board?
Material board, this pretty much shows the roof is slate, and these are stone precast columns, and that's kind of a smooth stucco. That's it. There's not really any material board to show.
Is
But
it real
itself,
slate?
It calls very much what it is.
Is it real slate or man-made slate?
Which one, the roof?
The roof, yeah,
The real slate.
real slate.
Right. But this is style the best to put real slate. It looks really nice with it. I have done another one of these in Los Altos Hills. It looks beautiful.
Stone trim around the door, is that foam
They're all
plant
stone.
on stucco
They're all
or it's
cast
real
stone.
stone?
Right. They're
Real
all real
cast
cast
stone.
stone.
Okay.
I had another question for you. Did you do any neighborhood outreach to the neighbors, the surrounding neighbors? I mean, we have a stack of letters from, and I actually talked with many of the neighbors about what the procedure was here and whatnot. Did you do any outreach to any of the neighbors and talk with them?
Well, my client, Mr. Najaf Sadeh, he already talked to a few of the neighbors, and those who they had concern, I made sure tonight I answer all the concerns they have, and if they have any question, I would be more than happy to answer them.
Just in general, we always encourage our applicants to go out and talk to the neighbors. Things go much better that way, and
Well,
just
to be
as a
honest
comment.
with you, I decided to let Mr. Najaf Sadeh himself do it. And since the first meeting I was here, the only request was reduce the columns and put some vegetation on the side. I didn't feel I needed. But once the letters came, I decided to feel like maybe they are right. Maybe I'm too big. Then I started to search around the neighborhood. Then I find 6 of them there, already there. Then I decided, well, if there is any question, I answer them tonight.
I have some questions.
Please.
Did I understand you to say that what's depicted and what we received is not representative of what the actual roof height will be, that you'll make it much higher when you actually do the construction plans?
No. I said I wish I could raise the roof to those high-pitched roof for French chateaus. I may even ask the planning department later on, would you let me go use that 1.5 feet left to take it or not? If you do, I use it. If it is not, we just go with, because one of the concerns.
You need to ask the commission that.
So shallow
Yeah.
compared to the
That's
other.
the point of
I want to
story
know
poles.
what I'm approving
Yeah.
tonight, is
So,
what is
and
actually going to be constructed.
Exactly this. That's
So,
the
so I can clarify. If through discussions, it sounds like he's got about 1.5 feet to work with, if that's something that, is available and the commission would like to see it and he says he can do it, then that would need to be worked through tonight as part of that approval. And it may be that I'm just clarifying the process for everybody here. So.
But doesn't that negate the purpose of doing story polls and showing the neighborhood that the house is a certain height, they have to be certified and shot and whatnot, and then...
The story poll requirement is an initial requirement. There's nothing in our code that says, should the commission feel like another... Because again, you can't approve anything higher than what it is. I mean, the reality is, you can decide to do whatever you want, and if you feel that what you'd like to approve, you need to get somebody else's... Let me put it this way. The point of this public hearing is for everybody to come and hear the discussion, and if part of the discussion out of the commission is to make some modifications to the design, whether it be in the height, in the material, in the other physical attributes of it, you have the ability to do that tonight. You do not have to send it back out to put up additional story poles or, stuff like that.
Thank you for that clarification.
Can I explain one more thing?
Yes.
Sure. What I'm asking just to be approved tonight, exactly the way it is. But one of the neighbors said most of these French chateaus have higher roof. I have about 1.5 feet left. If you allow me, when I do the construction drawing, I get that. If you say no, we just approve this the way it is, I would appreciate it. That's it.
I'm sorry, would you consider steepening the pitch to the 9 and 12?
No, just bring in the ridge higher, that's it.
No, I'm saying, would you consider steepening the pitch and then going flat
No.
beyond that?
No,
Why not?
because then you're gonna have a leak problem, and I'd rather to just have a clean roofing, that's what it is.
So on the examples of the pictures that you had, some of which are the poster children for projects that don't fit our design guidelines, but 2 of them I'm very familiar with, and they have flat roofs in order to get that steep roof pitch. So that's just kind of how it's done when you want to have it be true to the style of French chateau.
No, we like it the way it is. I don't honestly feel like I want to change them. I wish the city would change the regulation in some specific design, like French chateaus could go higher because that's the style, and the Mediterranean, Italian, I don't know, some other style maybe not. Especially modern style can go flat, but specifically if it is French chateau, give them a little bit higher roof. It looks nicer. That's it.
Another question. Did I understand you to say that the English laurels that are depicted on the plans that we received will not be planted?
It doesn't need to, because it's
On
already
the
so
sides.
dense. If you go to pictures, please can we see?
Well, it
Then-
doesn't need to be, doesn't answer my question. Are they going to be planted or not?
Again, if you guys ask me, sure, I'll put them. But it is so dense already, putting some English next to the natural native plants is going to look funny. Unless I remove them, then put this one, which I'd rather not to. Look, it's so dense on each side. Then where should I put the English flower? Yeah, we're going to put some in the front because the old driveway used to be a circular, we're gonna remove, we're gonna put some trees where we were going in, we're gonna put some trees where you were coming out. So since we are going from the center, the two sides, yes, either we may put some native trees, maybe oaks and pines, or maybe laurel, just in the front. But the sides are so dense, the laurel is gonna make it look really funny.
So I don't understand your answer. So the laurels on the sides will not be planted, but the
Doesn't need
laurels
to.
in the front
Yeah,
will?
but in the front we're doing it.
Is that accurate, what I said?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think what the applicant's saying is that he put them on the plans in response to the directive from the original.
To do some landscaping.
However, in their research and work since that time, they've come to feel that the existing natural, or I haven't seen it, but more natural vegetation in between properties, he feels is sufficient. However, in the front, there's opportunity to add
Somewhat.
either the laurels or some other sort of
By the way, Ginny,
landscaping.
if you look back, this is, if you haven't seen it, this is the one side and this is the other side. It's really so dense. It's a beautiful native trees. I really don't like to touch them. They're beautiful.
So is there any other landscape plan other than laurels in the front?
Yes, in the back we do some grasses, and then this would be swimming pool. But where I start to go down to the creek, can you go to the site plan, please? Right. See, from here, the land starts to go, from here, the land is slight to go down, and it's dense with the natural native trees. We don't touch this. But this area going to be, can we show a shot of the back? Yep, here. See, there's going to be some grass in here, pool, and somewhere around here begins to go down. We may put some fruit trees here, but we'd rather to see it more grass, more open, more sunny as it is. And that's the only tree we are requesting to be removed, that pepper tree.
Okay, does anyone else have
Yeah,
any
this is pretty
questions?
much the back is going to look like.
There was a view at the front of the house that showed the low gate, and the landscaping. There
Your
it is.
first
There.
slide, yeah.
This is what you really see from the street.
Yeah, in listening to you, I get the impression that you think the point of the landscaping is to hide the house. And that's not the point of the landscaping. It's to blend it in and make it look attractive. I like looking at houses. I don't want to hide them behind hedges.
But again, some neighbors, they mentioned, oh, this is huge, we don't want to see it. We decided to put it. But in reality, whatever here, we keep it. We put some laurel here. Then we put, whatever is here, we keep it. We put some laurel in here. So basically, we're going to see a laurel plus whatever is the natural plants there
I
staying.
mean, that could be a beautiful addition. I just don't see the attention paid to developing it on
Again,
plan
I
for
just
something
wanted to
for us
make
to
sure that
approve.
neighbor didn't want to see a big building, is happy to see more trees. That's why I didn't.
Well, that's not on the plan. All I see is this hedge. I don't see attention paid to the landscaping development in the front here as much as was put into the effort of getting that image together.
Then let's put it this way. Just in the front, we put laurel. The sides, we just keep it as it is.
I mean, there's opportunity here to do something beautiful, and all I see is a hedge. Like, let's wall the thing off.
But
So I don't
remember,
see it.
once we drive in, it's a driveway. Can you go back to the site plan we have? See, once we drive there, here, go like this. No, one more, here. When we come from in, most of this area is paved because it's driveway. You go around and you go there to park. You go there to park. By the way, during the construction, all the trucks can come in. We don't park anything outside the building. We just, have enough room to park here and here and here till it is done. So basically,
On that plan
Yeah.
there, can you zoom in on the front? Is it possible to?
this is the front, this
What
is the
it-
gate.
What is that area that's blue dots? What is it? It says ground. I know it's the ground,
Which
but
one?
what are we
And
doing there?
This, you
All
mean,
of that, yeah.
as I said, these are going to be laurel.
The area between the laurels and the drive.
This is going to be some Paver. Is it going to be paver?
What's also,
The paver is here. This area will be landscape.
where it says it's just a bark, what is that?
This area is going to be landscape.
Okay.
What
Just
is,
We have
it's,
a landscape plan that shows what we're gonna
I
be
think,
approving.
I think that's what I think that was the bottom line, is a landscape plan.
Can you go back to the shots of the front with the gate that we were just looking at moments ago?
the first slide. The first slide.
Show just inside
The
the
one
gate.
shows the
So it
gate.
sounds
Just
like
stop, right there.
the commission would like to see what they're seeing in pictures from a landscape standpoint, articulated in a true landscape plan,
Well, no,
to have some assurances of what may be happening. What's in the plan set right now seems to be a little more conceptual, and it's not reflective
there's
of what
nothing
they're
there,
seeing.
yeah.
right,
in the-
which is my
yeah.
question. If you can go to the next slide that just takes us inside that gate. Okay, there is no landscaping on those pavers. Then you have another image. Show me the other one that has the privacy trees in it.
No, it's not our project, it's the case study.
So this is not what we're gonna have.
This is the case study. No.
Okay, then show me the one that shows the
Go back
privacy
to
trees.
just show them what
Yeah,
we have.
I think the reference is privacy trees.
Right. Okay.
Privacy plants, excuse me. Okay, and that's more representative of what you're planning to.
Right. Right. Well, as I said, this area is so dense, we really don't need to do anything unless we put some more trees where it's a little bit light. But put native, put something belongs to this area. Wherever it's kind of, you can see the neighbor, we add more. Other than that, whatever is there, we're going to keep.
I appreciate that. I'm trying to get an understanding of what actually is going to be constructed.
That's pretty much.
Already heavy vegetation on plan.
We're accustomed to getting a formal landscape plan with the submission for the building.
Well,
It's,
pretty much we are showing what we are doing. If you still want to see a landscape plan, I don't mind. We can get a landscape plan. After this is approved, we can plan landscape plan for you guys later. But basically, mostly what we see is this. We try to keep as much as the natural look of the backyard and the front as possible. That's what I like. And when I talk to Mr. Najaf Sadeh, he agrees with me. They like to see as much. That's why we are trying not to touch any of the existing trees. All those, there's like about 25, 30 oak trees, they're all staying. And I love to see them, they're staying and they're staying alive and healthy. That's why we don't. And the
Okay.
minute you have oak, you don't want to put anything around them because they're going to kill them.
okay, so if the commission has no more questions, we can open it up to the public hearing. Okay,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
thank you. Public hearing.
Hello, my name is Bahram Najaf Sada, and my wife and I own the subject property on Coral Avenue. I would like to start by thanking you guys for having us tonight, as well as our neighbors who cared enough to show up this evening. We have been living in this area for a long time. In fact, I own a business on Lark Avenue, and we have been there for the past 8 years or so. We have been serving this community, and we feel like we are a part of this community. So when we had the opportunity to purchase this property, we got really excited. We got it last year, and we couldn't have, think of a better neighborhood to put our new home in. This is a dream home project for us. We plan to build it. We plan to live in there for the foreseeable future. And we understand many of the neighbors' concerns. There are concerns as well. And since the last commission, we did our best. We worked with Mike. He's been working, spending many hours working on the requirements that was specified to us from the commission. Furthermore, I just want to say this, that in regards to the landscaping, our plan is to keep all the natural trees. We have plenty of trees. If you guys go and walk through the property, it's densely, we have a lot of trees, a lot of vegetation. We're going to clean them up. We don't really not going to, we really like the back view. The property doesn't need landscape. We don't really need any more trees to be added there. We have two beautiful oak trees, and then the property slopes downwards. You could see the hills from there. It's a beautiful property. We fell in love with it, and we really we are not planning to touch anything back there, except minor. We could put some flowers down, or just some grass to make it greener and nicer. But other than that, we really didn't feel like we are going to do that much of a landscaping. And again, up front, many of the trees that you guys see right there, it's basically there right now. And what we're going to do, we're going to clean them up, keep the trees, keep whatever plant that actually going to function well with the property, with our vision. We're going to keep them. We're going to make it look very nice. And another question, which was regarding the roof line, we love to have a high pitch roof. We love to have a higher roof line. But we worked with Mike. We went with what was required with the city. If you guys allow us to go taller, we thought about having a flat top on the roof. But after, talking to a few experts, they told us they're going to it's going to create problems down the road. So they didn't really recommend that. Sure.
This is sort of the same thing that your architect was saying. The public comment is supposed to be 3 minutes per person.
Okay.
And at this point, you count as a public comment rather than the advocate.
I would like to personally ensure this commission and our neighbors that we will do our best. As I said, this is a dream home project for us. We will spare no effort or expense to make this a great addition to the neighborhood as well as to the city of Monte Sereno. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, my name is Kevin Hayes. I live at 15187 Carl Avenue. I'm the house immediately to the south, to the left as you look at it, of 15171 with my wife, and we lived there for 22 years. Just 2 points. The landscaping is really confusing me because we had the meeting and we were told that, okay, they were going to put it in the English laurels, which I thought was a kind of a patchwork response and not really a plan as such. Now I'm hearing tonight that the area between us and the Najafzadeh property is densely vegetated. It is not. There is one oak tree and there's a couple of scrub bushes. There's no way you could say that is it isn't. I don't know why he would say that. A bigger point, I think, is a lot of examples of, for want of a better word, French chateau, 5 houses on Carl Avenue. My view of Carl Avenue is somewhat different to the gentleman that spoke. I think Carl Avenue, in my mind, is from a neighbourhood point of view, is in 3 sections. There's the northerly section, which is the Rinconada down to Eton, and there's 3 of those large property, those French chateaus, for want of a better word. And then the southerly part, which is roughly Robin Ann Lane down to the south, down to Vineland. There's 2 places. They're not French chateaus. There's what I call the Pink Palace, and there's another kind of Tuscan property. They're both down a hill, so they don't loom up at you as much. The area that we live in, which is the central part of Carl Avenue, is about 1 kilometre long, 0.6 of a mile, something like that. The central section is the longest part. Those kind of properties aren't there. They're on the southerly part, near Vineland. They're on the northerly part, in near Rinconada. In our area, it's mostly ranch. As Heather said the last night, there's variations on it. There's our, quote, modern, which is just a converted ranch, modernized. So I think this property coming in here changes the neighborhood. And you will see, and I won't be here for it, and maybe some of you won't be either, but over the next 10 to 20, 30, 40 years, 50 years from now, it'll be all houses like that. If that's what you want, that'll be the beginning of it. I think Heather made a good point earlier on that several of the properties pointed out there, those 5 properties and some of the others on Vineland, are examples of what not to do. And I think I like the Najafzadehs. I've had several conversations with them. I didn't have them before the meeting. I met with Bahram about 2 weeks ago. My wife and I did about 2 weeks ago. And I think it'd been better if they had spoken to us earlier on. But I guess that's my view. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
My name is Richard Bischoff. I'm a resident of Carl Avenue. I lived in the area since the late 60s. We have a property that's next to the Hayes. And this is the first time I heard that we're in the French chateau business, because the chateaus that were referenced on Carl Avenue are, if you want to see who blocks anybody's view, it's anybody playing on the golf course. There's not a soul whose view is blocked by a high elevation building. And the one thing that we miss as we go down Carl Avenue is getting a good view of the mountains, because things keep getting higher and higher. Now I look at the profile that's put up as to what this building was going to be. Why are we going up to a third level? To me, that is totally blocking anybody who's on the other side of the street and just giving them nothing but blocking their view of everything. And if I were the neighbors that live across the street from there, I would be very upset. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Dave Nielsen, I live at 15228 Carl Avenue. And with respect to the architect and the owners, I've submitted 2 letters to the commission, one in December and one in February. I want to confirm you've received those. I think I affirm or stand by that, what we've said in those letters, my wife and myself, and feel strongly about the project. We've looked at the design guidelines ourselves. We're laymen, but we read the guidelines in totality. And we look at the project and just see a project that's incompatible with the guidelines holistically. We look at specifically Section 3, Mass 3A2, Design and Site Compatibility, Section 4, 4A1, 4A4, 4A5, 4A6, 4B1, Section 5, Architectural Details and Materials, 5A1, 5A2, 5A4, 5B2, 5B3, 5B4, Section 6, Landscaping, 6A1, 6A2, 6B1, 6D1. So we read a document, it's 30 pages, we see 25 provisions that are not being met. We respect the commission and its ability to assess the project in its totality. But as we see it, the project feels incompatible with what's expected of new development in the town. So we ask you think about, as Kevin says, what precedent's being set for this stretch of Carl Avenue. It's a green street, there's lower houses, and we think this project will change the tone of the street in permanence. We also think about what is the precedent for the rest of Monte Sereno. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeannie, do we discuss amongst ourselves?
If there's nobody else here to speak, now is appropriate to ask the applicant to come. And 3 to 5 minutes max.
Okay. Please come back up and...
With respect to the neighbors, definitely there is something in the city of Monte Sereno. They cannot tell us you cannot have 2-story building. We are meeting every requirement regarding floor area ratio, lot coverage, height. Nobody can tell me you cannot put a 2-story building. Yes, Carl Avenue, there are lots of ranch homes. Gradually it's changing. There is lots of larger homes in the neighborhood. They better be ready, some of the homes coming. People want to have 2-story, and the regulation says, yes, you can have a 2-story, and that's what we are asking. Now, I still can have a 2-story. You may ask me to change the style, which I'm not going to, but nobody can tell me you cannot have a 2-story building, because we are meeting the city's criteria and requirement for a 2-story building. Thank you.
Okay, public discussion is over. Bringing it back to us.
I'd like to see a landscape plan. I don't think I understand what we are considering.
I agree.
I also think that a materials list is helpful. I appreciate the I'd like to see that in writing. I also want to verify what the roof height's ultimately going to be, and in conjunction with whatever is going to be represented on the
Could I point out something as Steve's going forward with this idea? We saw this picture of the gate, and we saw trees in that picture, and I think my concern is, where are the trees? Do they exist today? And we're told that they do exist today, that they are there, those trees that are there. And the hedge in the front isn't going to block the view of the home more or less than the trees are. So I think when you want a landscape plan, do you want to know where the existing floral is, or what additional, or both?
I think both.
A fully developed landscape plan, if what they're saying is they're going to integrate the existing landscaping that's already there,
Right.
would have that in the landscape plan that would indicate that it's an existing oak tree that's got a, diameter of 17 inches. And then,
Similar to what we saw in the
a
region.
licensed landscape architect will then prepare a plan with plants positioned appropriately given their growth pattern, And it may look, there's not that many, but you got to plant things so many feet on center and stuff like that. So that's what you should be asking for vis-a-vis a landscape plan, prepared by a licensed landscape architect that depicts existing vegetation, whether it's going to remain or be removed, and proposed plantings, both in type and the size that's going to be planted. And a lot of times with type, you can also request, what's the average height, growth height of that. So you can know what to expect.
I think then we should make that a provision if we go forward. We should make that we do get what you really want, which is a landscape plan. It's going to be something that we can,
It's beneficial to know from an overall perspective of where the house is going to sit vis-a-vis various landscaping, and I also think the concerns are focused on screening, no ability to evaluate the screening, knowing what plantings are going to exist or will be planted.
My observation of the property is that on the sides, it's pretty. One of the neighbors disagreed. There's nothing there, but I saw, there was a lot of vegetation there, and if that can be enhanced and make it better, we should do that. A landscape plan will solve that.
Well, we would at least know what, and the neighbors would know as well, what was actually going to be there.
Sure.
Any other?
So I'm still stuck on the roof pitch and being true to the style. So part of the city guidelines, the design guidelines are, if you're going to do a style, be true to that style. So I feel like the 4 and 12 roof pitch is not in keeping with the style. So I have an objection to that. And then the examples of the French chateaus in the neighborhood all had steep roof pitches. There were a few in there that are precisely why this design review commission has been formed. So it didn't help the case. But that was one of my things. And then also just to evaluate Carl Avenue. And it's a tough one to decide when you have a ranch little section of the street. And it is going to change. And my personal interpretation of this is when you buy a home and it's within the city regulations to build a 2-story home, you should be able to build a 2-story home. So I don't have an objection with that. And they are very far in from all the setbacks and whatnot. So that I don't have issue with. Just being true to the style and quality materials. And we've never accepted a project where there weren't physical samples when it's this large of a project to have physical samples, a materials board, and a landscape plan that shows what's going on. So those are my comments.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, the project's big enough to warrant that degree of detail for us to look at. I hear the neighbors about the mass and how big it is. But it does fit within the requirements for that piece of property, and it is set quite far back. it looks a little stark when you look at the story poles right now, because there is no landscaping on the property. There's just some
Shrubs.
ragged hedges in front and a couple of gnarly old dead trees in front, and it just doesn't look that good. And so I think the story poles look shocking. But I think, if the house is built, true to style with quality materials, and there is a well-developed landscaping plan that kind of blends it in, and I'm not talking an 8-foot shrub wall, I'm talking something that kind of builds, toward the property and helps it mesh in with the neighborhood. I think it could be quite attractive. I'm with Heather on the roof pitch. I know you don't like flat roofs, but
That's how it's done.
and it's doable and it can be done right without a leak. So I know that's not an impossible task. I really feel the 4 and 12 pitch just looks funny. I mean, the dormers are the sidewalls of the dormers are going to have these long tapers back. It's not going to look right. And if we're going to go this style, let's do it right and get the roof pitch right.
Can I make one more comment just to add to what you were saying, just back to the evaluation of Carl Avenue and how there's just a wide variety of homes. The ones down towards the La Rinconada area that kind of are more in keeping with what they want to do here, their success is huge quality materials. Several of those homes I've been in, watched being built, and extensive landscaping that softens the homes from their street presence. And I think that's what makes it work on that street, and that's what we're looking for.
Only one other comment.
Okay.
A lot of criticisms, but to compliment you guys, I think the setbacks that you guys are trying to achieve on this lot are, house far enough back that it's not going to be an eyesore.
Yeah, I mean, it helps a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, the property can handle it, and there's no sense in building a large home shoved up against the street. I think the house is well placed on the lot. And we have that great big 80-foot buffer zone there from the street. Let's landscape it nicely and quite attractive.
And see the home.
Yeah,
As you said,
I
I don't
don't.
want to see
Yeah,
it buried.
Yeah.
I'm against
Yeah,
burying
we don't wanna
homes
bury it.
behind hedges. It's not Valparaiso or Atherton Avenue. I don't want that.
Yeah.
Are we ready for it? Does someone want to make a motion?
Well,
With
what
our-
are we doing? Are we giving them the opportunity to?
Well, you have a couple options. We have several options. You can continue it if you feel confident that they can carry out certain conditions and leave it to staff to evaluate that. You can recommend approval with conditions. Believe me, I'm more than happy to leave it in your hands. You could make a motion to continue it one more hearing to get what you feel is important to really help you feel confident in the decision you're making. You can, of course, you always have the option to deny. So again, I think those are really your options. So.
Okay.
Good luck, huh?
Did we get anything other than this?
From the applicant?
Yeah,
Resubmittal?
the
No.
resubmittal?
No.
So it's just the
Yeah.
Well, these plans,
The ones
Yeah.
that came in the month.
Okay.
this package, but
Okay.
we didn't, it was deferred
Okay,
a
right.
month, basically.
right.
And so this is essentially a rebuttal.
This is
Or
the
response to
response
some of
to
the-
us telling them about the columns.
And the letters from the neighbors
And the
as
letters,
well.
okay.
So let's just go through our three options. I mean, are any of us thinking that we want to flat out deny it?
No.
No, so that's off the table. Okay.
Should
So
we go
it's
through
either
the-
continue or we approve it with conditions and let Jeannie and staff take care of it. I vote for number one where we continue it.
I do too,
I-
because in fairness to, the whole
Yeah,
purpose of this is
the
a public
the
hearing, so
process,
that
yeah.
the neighbors have some opportunity to understand what is
I agree.
expected, and us as commissioners do too.
I agree. Okay.
So the condition would be that
So
we want certain things for the next session.
Yeah, and I think if, similar to before, if you can articulate really what you want to see in the resubmittal,
Right.
that will help not only the applicant prepare it, but also help anyone else know what to expect.
What they're getting,
So I
for
see
sure.
two big things. One is the landscaping plan. It has to have a landscaping plan. Number two, if we want to
Materials board.
believe in the style of the house, we have to have some ideas
Physical
about what they're going to
samples.
do on the roof.
Yeah.
Roof.
Well, I
That's
mean,
the slate.
Mr. Colsatt's example board over here is what we're looking for a materials
Right,
board.
so that's different than the roof.
Yeah, there are two issues here. There's a roof.
Oh, that roof pitch. I'm talking about materials. Yeah, I thought you were saying, yeah.
But materials, there is a representation on eight color and materials that
Yeah,
has the smooth
I
stucco
understand.
and the lightweight slate and the wood French doors. I would want some representation that the stone surrounds and details and trim would be a part of this as well, and some understanding of what that will be by representation of a picture or an identification of a product.
But again, I think
this is the best
newly
way to go.
constructed, we're pushing
If we can have this, it'd be great.
Yeah.
And specifically the things that you want in that, even if it's photographs and materials.
No, materials.
No, it's physical materials. So give us a small physical sample of the
Give us a big
roofing,
physical sample if
the
you want.
stone, the
Fine.
trim. They've got an example of the stucco finish.
And they've
So they
got-
can be done.
Yeah, the
Okay.
cast stone, the stucco, everything.
The last item is the roof.
Slope issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just.
I just don't feel like it's in keeping with the
sticking
style.
for me. I mean, just
Me
looking
too.
at that, see that flat roof going back is just counter to the style. I understand you're up against height requirements, and that's why a lot of builders integrate a flat section. Maybe waterproofing challenges, but it's not an impossible hurdle.
It's done all the
It's done
time.
all the time.
Does someone want to make a motion incorporating the
Here, I'll do it.
what we want to see?
Okay. So I make a motion that we continue this project till our next meeting, and the applicant provides a landscape plan from a licensed landscape architect. We get a physical materials board, and the plans are written to what those materials might be, specified either calling out specific building materials or whatnot. And then our last issue is the roof pitch being, we just want to see it be true to the style that the French chateau.
So you are saying change the roof pitch?
Make it however you want, but make it true to style.
Just a point of information for me, because I'm not this familiar. He's got 1.5 feet to go.
Yeah, I don't mind it being taller.
So if you went up there, would that solve the problem?
No.
Got to shrink the house?
No. He's got to steepen up the roof, and he's going to end up having a flat. Whenever you have a large, in Atherton, it's done all the time. So huge houses, French chateau style, and there's flat spots on the top of the roof. It's just the only way you can build a big house with a steep roof pitch and keep true to the style.
And fit within the height limitations.
And fit within the light.
Okay. So you
I would
made the
second that
motion, second.
I would second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay, the project is continued
March. I don't have my
Whatever,
calendar.
first Wednesday in
with the
March.
conditions that she said.
Thank you very much for that.
What's the date?
Good
March
First
Wednesday,
check that off your list.
March
of-
6th?
And, okay, now we have to do,
Close the meeting.
okay, the meeting is adjourned.
So March 7th.